Hello, my name is Andrew Morgan Smith, and I'm here to talk to you today about Benjamin Wallfisch Strings by Orchestral Tools. So, a couple weeks ago, Orchestral Tools got in touch with me and asked me to do a demo for their new library, which is the Benjamin Wallfisch Strings. And I thought, how can I pass that opportunity up? So what they asked me to do was to do a demo more on the string effects side. So this library is two-sided. It's a string library, like a normal string library, as well as a string effects library. You can buy them separately, or you can buy them as a bundle. But they wanted me to mostly focus on like a orchestral, like modern orchestral horror stuff. So let me play you the track, and then we'll talk through it. So as you can see, it's very kind of modern horror where you're not so much worried specifically about orchestration. Like this piece couldn't be played in one pass. If you were going to record it, you're going to have to record multiple takes of it. It's kind of just more about how things mesh together. Let me talk a little bit about the library, and then we're going to dive more into the track. So each library, it's a pretty big library, and I've seen a lot of talk about that. But the reason why it's so big, each library is so the Wallfisch string side, like this, the normal string side. First thing is it has divises of each section. So you're gonna have your 2D violin 1, then 2 divises, same thing with violin 2, violas, cello, basses, and they're all non-looped. So if I load up this to play, let's see if it's if I play this, theoretically it doesn't loop. Other libraries would have a loop or have some kind of thing which shortens up how much data they need to have. The second thing that makes it a lot bigger is you have all these mic positions for each section. So whatever you have, if it's violins 1, 2D, you're going to have all these microphones. And I didn't download the Atmos violins or the Atmos stuff because I don't have an Atmos setup, so I just didn't want to use the space. But you can selectively download stuff. So if you only wanted to download the close tree LR tree center, you could, right? You could literally download as little as you wanted. And then also on the there's also all the mics raw, which I didn't use on this track, and I'll explain why in a minute. So you kind of you're doubling up on a lot of content. Not in a negative way, just gives you a lot of different options and a lot of different things to use. So that's why the library is so big, and something to keep in mind whenever you're downloading it, like you don't have to download all that. You can download just what you need, So just some food for thought if the size is what's daunting to you. So let's talk quickly about the reason why I use the processed mics and not just the raw mics. So they asked me specifically to do like a soundscapes library, and part of the big thing, so as you can see on the horror stuff, these are just normal horror articulations. There are, close, tree LR, tree center, all these things like the other one, but if you go over to some of the more processed effects, they're only full mix. So they're only going to be more of the full mix stuff. So I decided to only go with the process stuff to kind of all mesh and to be a bit more aggressive. Like the style is just very aggressive. So, and some cool, we'll get into some cool effects that these things have. But yeah, so let's start talking about the track. So the thing that really was my jumping off point is they used this, they have this chords library, not library, but this chords patches. There's just something about it. Something about like orchestras playing really quiet, but then they like crank up the volume of it. I know a lot of composers have used that trick. There's just like an interesting energy and sound to it. And I just loved that for like a basis for this starting point. And then I started building from there. So I added some just normal violins, which I didn't even... And then I added on top of that, to make it a little more interesting, I added this is a Mellotron drone. And that's kind of gives it like an eerie feeling, right? And on top of that, we get, this is where we're talking about, like these are Colegno high strings, but obviously you can't have Colegno high strings and violins playing at the same time. So that's one of those things of just, right? And then we add in the low strings on Colegno. That's one of these percussive textures that I had. And it creates a cool, there's also a little bit of like trilling basses here. I guess just trem basses. Sounds good. Sounds really good. And then we have kind of your, I don't mean to say stock, but it's just, like a more interesting, like, some kind of effects, and then we get into this. Let's talk about the next sequence. So we have like the low, there's a couple different parts. The low end strings, which sound great. Sound hyper aggressive, sound really bitey, especially in like action horror stuff. That sounds great. And then I was adding in Colegno low strings and the also this percussive texture, which if you want to hear the percussive texture by itself, I think it's called Cracking Branches or something. I'm gonna just tell you what it is. I just gotta look it up. Yeah, Cracking Branches. Right, but if you add all these together, and then I also, in the full version, I have some 808s and trailer hits hitting on these parts. So I'll just unmute it for a second. All right, and so also this track is probably like 70 to 80% Wallfisch strings. The rest of it is like percussion or, synth percussion stuff. And there's like one sound of a friend of mine screaming through a trombone that I added in, but other than that, it's all all this library. I gotta trigger the key switch. That's the spiccatos, and then a cool little technique that I use. If you ever have a track that's not really biting the way you want it to bite. So as an example, this is the example I'm talking about. I had these trills. It's like, yeah, like there's a slight crescendo in it, and I wanted to bite harder, so I doubled it with a spiccato string part. You can do that with any library, but it definitely gives you a nice bite to all that stuff. And then let's take a look at some of these other articulations or these other tracks here. Excuse me. These are some rips. These are some nice rips that I was using for this. These are some like kind of risery things that I was using. Then there's another one. Using those as risers. Let's see. And we can talk about this. This is a cool effect. These effects are pretty cool. This is like a normal effect here. This is one of those cool things. So these are called reverse pads or patches. So like on this track, it's reversed. So if you listen to it, they're all reversed. Right here's the normal version of that. And then here's the reversed version. So that's really cool. It has like a similar texture to it, but it creates a different feeling. Like it feels a little bit more chaotic. And they have a lot of them on a lot of these different tracks. They have reverse chords, reverse longs, reverse spreads, glissandi, all these different things. And it can create a cool texture that I don't know of anybody else who has reversed stuff like that. I mean, I'm more than happy. If somebody knows anything that has that, let me know, because I would love to know more about it. And then let's see here. This is a little bit annoying because... So I actually specifically, if you look at the data here, I have it muted basically until middle of this. I could just talk about it. So it's like a held note, but then the held note eventually spreads, but I just wanted the spread. So I just had it basically at 0 on everything until it spreads out. Yeah, and I think it has a lot of really cool stuff in it that not a lot of other libraries have, or at least that I know of. So yeah, I mean that's basically the track. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. If you have other ideas of other string effects libraries that I haven't heard about, I would love to hear about those as well. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and if you like this stuff, go check out Orchestral Tools, Benjamin Wallfisch Strings and Stringscapes. If you liked one of the other, if you liked the Stringscapes and just the Stringscapes, you can buy just that. Or vice versa. If you like just the normal strings, you can go buy that. So thank you so much, and I'll let you get back to writing.